report in lots of detail anyway. It's just more a sense of you as a person. But
okay.
let me know if there's anything you don't want.
Suffice it to say that it was a cathedral school, and I had always wanted to go over and hear evensong, which I'd never done in that cathedral. But my family have been associated with the cathedral for multiple hundreds of years. We have a chapel in the cathedral that's the family chapel and so on. And the fact that I've been to family weddings, things and so on. So the fact that I had hundreds of years of family connections. He was new into his headship and had a member of the board who was a recently retired secondary school head as opposed to primary. He needed a primary school head because of the primary interests of the school. And I have a lot of school inspection experience as well, particularly in choir schools. Mm-hmm. So I fitted the bill. Mm-hmm. And I also speak Welsh, which I learnt as an adult. And I'm the only governor who can speak Welsh. So I ticked all sorts of boxes.
Yes, Who snapped you up?
Well, the governors had to sort of see that I was an appropriate person and so on. So, Anyway, I've been a governor for about 10 years.
Okay.
Which is wonderful. It's absolutely brilliant because I'm using all the skills that I acquired as a head and an inspector and what have you. But and I can ask all sorts of beady questions, but I'm not the executive responsible for the day-to-day running of the place. So it's really terrific. It's really interesting. I love it.
Wow. So a really full life and really lots and lots of things going on. And just interesting when you talked about the governorship and you love it and what I'm just wondering with all these different things that you do and that you're involved in, what you get from them, what it is about those things that really motivate you or really get you going. Why are you so involved in
community orchard and gardening because of my green leaning politics. School governorship partly because I feel that I should give back to society. And I come from a family, both my parents were governors of schools. My father was chairman of governors of his local primary school. My mother was chairman of governors of her local comprehensive. So it's tradition to work for the community. Arts societies, because it's something since my teens I've been interested and involved in, and there are certain elements of art that I am particularly interested in, and maps especially I am somewhat besotted with. So some things are a sense of social responsibility, some things are because of my interests, some things are because of my politics. I think sums it up.
Yeah, great. So tell me a bit about Bristol then and your history with the University of Bristol.
Okay, I'm South Walian in origin, but I was born and brought up in London, as you can tell from the accent. I came to college in Bristol. I went to St Matthias in Fishponds, which was a teacher training college, Anglican one. And it gave its qualifications were Bristol University qualifications. Not unlike Redland, which gave Bristol Poly qualifications. Curiously, I didn't know of any teachers in my family, but once I got to St Matthias, I discovered that 3 great aunts had been there well before my time. 2 on my mother's and 1 on my father's side, even though they lived from different sides of the country. Okay. It's strange. Anyway, so I trained there, loved Bristol, worked for 3 years in London, 6 years in Cambridge, headship then in Lincoln. I'd met my husband by then, but we weren't married. He was living in Leicester. The head of the school that I'd been at in Cambridge told me about the headship coming up in Bristol. So I applied for and got that. and came back down. In the meantime, I'd done an OU degree in maths. So I had a certificate, teacher's certificate qualification, Cert Ed, for Bristol. Then I did the history MA with Cont Ed through Bristol, and it was very convenient because my study was on Elton Road. So I had the arts library a couple of hundred yards in one direction, and Cont Ed at that point was in Berkeley Square, which is another couple of hundred yards in the other direction. So it was the only way really I could have done it, because I was in the midst of the library and where I was getting my teaching. And I also got a one-term sabbatical from school in order to finish the research and write up my dissertation, which was good. So I then had the MA in history, it being my only qualification in history, because I didn't do O-level or A-level. Then when I got to 48 and decided to change, I did a certificate and diploma in archaeology, which were not a doddle, but I mean less academically vigorous than the MA had been, but quite a lot of work to do, and built up my sort of CV as far as practical archaeology was concerned, because Bristol's archaeology department was absolutely abysmal in doing anything about practical archaeology.
Right.
So one thing that my teaching experience had taught me was that you have to network like mad. So I know how to do it, and so I did my cert course and diploma course concurrently, as well as starting a postgrad postgrad certificate in archaeology with Leicester University in standing buildings, and I put together a sort of an apprenticeship of archaeology, if you like. So urban, rural, ancient, medieval, industrial, modern sites. Some of it was paid and some of it wasn't. And then from that, and by becoming the programme secretary for various archaeology societies, which meant that I had to contact well-known archaeologists. So by getting them to come and speak, I had a lot to do with them. So that was a jolly good way of getting work and things. And so I built up my work in all sorts of bits of archaeology.
Yeah.
So I have experience at Bristol as an alumna, in a curious sense. None of it has been part of a 3-year undergraduate degree, but it has been at both non-degree, undergraduate and postgraduate levels.
Yes. Fascinating.
So I don't fit the standard person that when I find the printed material that comes out, the newsletters, fascinating, because it's all the work about what the university is doing at the moment, current students, all sorts of social projects and things that's going on. That's really fascinating. But the sort of events of get to meet your fellow students from year blank has no relevance to me at all. Completely blank. I do have very strong feelings on the quality of teaching that I received, and being a teacher and an inspector at that, you have to keep your mouth shut quite often when you're on the receiving end of some lousy teaching. On the other hand, I was also inspired by numbers of tutors who were really brilliant, but they weren't necessarily full-time staff.
Right, okay. So teaching was quite a mixed bag then?
Very mixed bag.
Right.
And I do feel qualified to comment.
Sure, of course. And so when was it that what year was it that you spent most of your or how long had you been in sort of in contact with it in those different sort of